Guten Tag, guys, and welcome to the next training vlog. Today we have lower body and clean and jerk accessories. So, as with most days, we start out with muscle snatches, just for the sake of it, combined with squat press. Afterwards, we have front squat and power jerk, and then we move on to squats and deadlifts. One thing I wanted to talk about today, besides the lifting, is just the fact that in some ways all of our brains are like a kid. Mainly in the case that whatever you're doing at the moment doesn't seem as cool or as exciting as other stuff. For me, most of the time, this comes in the form of when I have to do a lot of studying or whatever for university, then creating content, making YouTube videos, thinking about stuff I could do, how to edit stuff, what to say, seems so cool. And I feel like I have all these great ideas and I know exactly what to make and all that thing. And once I have time again because the exam is over or the paper is finished or whatever, the prospect of making content and producing videos all of a sudden is not as exciting anymore. Because, yeah, when you have to study, you feel like, oh, when I'm done, I want to do all the stuff and I'm not just gonna lay around and be lazy. But once the exam is over, most of the time, being lazy seems like the much better option. Basically, just the grass is always greener on the other side. Certainly nothing you haven't heard already, but just something that occurred to me today because just like an hour ago, not even that probably, I finished an exam. And before the exam, when I was going to university, I thought about all the videos I want to make. And when I was driving home, I just felt like, oh, am I really going to do it now? I could do other stuff. And yeah, as you see or hear, I am just now actually making myself do some videos. So yeah, seems like the productivity won out today, but definitely not the case in most times. So now let's talk a bit about the lifting. Front squat and jerks. I progressed on these weight from the last session and quite a bit. Last time I did 75, today is 83 kilos. So yeah, 8 kilo jump, quite a lot. And I definitely felt it. Now, to be honest, the front squat and also the jerk part is not that heavy, but catching the jerks is awful. It's awful with lightweight, but 83 kilos is a weight that, yeah, it's not very that comfortable for me. Here you see me struggle with the jerk itself, and yeah, the catch really hits sometime. Now for the first two sets, I lowered them down for all the reps, so also for the last reps, and I think for the last two or maybe three sets after the last power jerk, I just dropped the bar because the lowering part was just hitting too hard, and it's not what I want to focus on these. On the push press, I always want to lower them because I feel like the lowering part makes you strong. It's just, yeah, hard to do, but I feel like it has some positive. But with jerks, sometimes the weight just gets so heavy that the positives you would get by getting stronger basically just don't outweigh the negatives that the catching has on the next set you're going to do. And if the weight is not that heavy, you can just drop it, pull out one or two plates or whatever, power clean the weight back up. And yeah, I think I just stripped off the threes and the tens and then basically had to power clean 60 kilos, which is really not that hard. Definitely not as hard as catching 80 from above. So yeah, here now you see a different angle. I think on the second set, I pause a bit at the bottom and go a bit deeper. This is something I did intentionally because I feel like I'm catching the power jerks a bit too high or higher than I would want to do. So yeah, I would really like them to not be a squat jerk, of course, but somewhat be in a quarter to half squat position and not just with a very slight bend in the knees, because I just feel like the position is not that strong this way. But my overhead mobility with the narrow grip is not as good as I would want it to be. So yeah, still working on that at the moment. I think this is the last set of front squat and jerks. And yeah, front squat looks fine, jerk is okay, and then I just drop the weight and let's be done with it. Now we move on to squats. Here a sped up version of my squat warm up, just some reps with the bar, then some reps with 60 kilos. Then today I jumped straight to 90 kilos and then one rep with 110. And then I dropped down to 100 for the working sets, and I did these for 3 sets of 6. At this point in the cut and also in the training cycle, I really tend to feel the fatigue a bit. Now, usually the fatigue wouldn't be that bad, but yeah, I think it's mainly uh, the cut of calories and also the fact that I'm not that used to weightlifting, and so the leg and lower back fatigue tends to add up quite a bit. And yeah, I'm really feeling it. 100 kilos for 3 sets of 6 is really not that heavy, but they felt really heavy. But yeah, it is what it is today. It is what it is. Fatigue catches up with you, and when you're cutting, you can't be as strong as you usually are. So yeah, it's just something you have to get used to. And to be honest, I'm also not pushing these 100%. So I most likely would be able to get 100 for sets of 8, but I really don't want my squats to be grindy, and I don't really want to add any more fatigue because I already have enough fatigue.
Very, very, very dehydrated today.
So here now we have the 110. Now this is a weight that my best thing ever, I did 110 for 10, and here I do it for just 1 rep. And I mean, the rep looks fine, but it certainly was hard, and it's definitely not something I could have done for 10 reps today. And now we move on to the sets of 6 with 100. As you can see, they look fine, so it's definitely not a big struggle, but it's not as easy as I would want it to be. One thing that occurred to me just today is that maybe my lower back fatigue or my lower back not being as strong as it usually was is because I have been neglecting deadlifts for the last few months, basically. Usually, I tend to push my squat and my deadlift equally, so I value them the same most of the time. But like at the end of last year, I really was pushing my squat and not worrying about as much about the deadlift. And the squat is definitely a bit more of a better development tool for lower body strength, but the deadlift is just something that makes you strong in the whole body. And for most people, deadlift is something where you handle more weight than with the squat, and especially your lower back has to handle more weight than on the squat and also in a more folded over position. So for me, squats really were never a problem of lower back strength because my deadlift was just way higher than my squat and also more bent over. So I always had enough lower back strength or capacity to really handle the squats easily. And even now, the squats are not a big problem for the lower back. And when I get folded over, it's generally fine, but I certainly feel it more. As now we move on to the deadlift. Today I did 2 sets of 150 kilos for 4 reps, and I'm generally happy with this. As I said, I have been neglecting the deadlift for quite some time. So the pulling strength was actually better than I thought it would be. But today, so the training session was yesterday, and today I'm doing the voiceover, as you will know when you understand the terms today and yesterday. Anyways, deadlifts went fine. I was really happy with how they were moving, but the lower back certainly was the main thing breaking down, let's say, and also something that I really can feel today. I don't tend to get a lot of soreness generally, and especially not in the lower back because that just was always one of the things where I'm really strong. But like I said, due to the fact that I have been neglecting deadlifts somewhat at the moment, I don't think it's as strong as it usually is. And today, after the squats and the deadlifts, and of course the weightlifting also, I really feel my lower back. Once again, combined with side plank leg raises for sets of 7, because 7 and 9s just don't get as much love as they should in the weightlifting sphere. Didn't do any accessories because, as I said, today I had an exam. That's all for today, guys. As always, you're very welcome to leave me some criticism in the comments below. Let's see how much more productiveness I can get out of myself today. This was Vahed. Thanks for watching.